Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our NCP Wi-Fi Season 4 Week 4 battle against John Jr. and his Portland Nightshades. John is a very, very good friend of mine. He's a phenomenal player and he makes amazing content. So if you haven't checked out John already, though I suppose if you know me, you probably know John, definitely go check him out in the description below. You won't be disappointed. He makes great content, like I said. And he's a phenomenal player. We got our work cut out for us this week. So, hopefully we can grab a dub off him. I do want to mention, though, before we jump into the team builder, that only a good 40 to 50% of you guys that are watching the videos each and every time they go up are actually subscribed to the channel. So, if you haven't done so already, do me a huge favor and go ahead and hit that sub button. It's completely free, really easy, and you can always change your mind later. If you enjoy Draft League content like this, if you enjoy Wi-Fi battle content, Showdown Lives, we got all three of them on deck. So, we got plenty of that stuff if you're into, competitive Pokemon and all things encompassing that. And that being said, let's jump into the team builder. I do like doing quick team builders just so you can see what we're bringing, why we're bringing it, and all that good stuff, so you have that background knowledge going into the match. But there will obviously be a timestamp either earlier in the video or right now saying when the battle starts itself. But let's go ahead and jump on into the matchup. Our team, if you did forget, consists of Latios, Excadrill, Scolipede, Jellicent, Sylveon, Moltres, Gigalith, Scrafty, Tangela, Zergatry, and Stoutland, while our opponent's team consists of Spectrier, Hydreigon, Terrakion, Roserade, Klefki, Starmie, Talonflame, Sandaconda, Audino, and Rotom. Now, biggest threats off rip. Terrakion rips me. Terrakion is so goddamn scary. Rock Polish is honestly a huge nuisance to the team that we're bringing in particular. I can see why John might not think it's as good as it is, but because of the things that we're leaving on the bench, things like Jellicent and Tangela that aren't coming, it can honestly be a big nuisance to our team. So we're going to have to be careful around that thing. Spectrier, once our Scrafty gets chipped, weakened, worn down, honestly just rips our team a new one. So we'll have to be careful about that. And then Nasty Plot Hydreigon is a good breaker in this game. Really good breaker. Scarf is also very solid if you can be aggressive and get U-turns out on that Sylveon. And another set I'm very, very scared of on Hydra is actually going to be Dragon Dance. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I think Dragon Dance is actually a very, very viable option in this matchup. If it feels he can get rid of Scrafty, DD actually goes crazy. And we'll kind of touch on that in a little bit here. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on right into our first Pokemon, which is going to be Latios, rocking out with the leftovers, Levitate as its ability, Psyshock, Roost, Dragon Pulse, and Calm Mind. EVs wise, we're rocking out with 156 HP, 132 attack, special attack, and 220 speed with a modest nature. Now, EVs wise, we have enough speed for Terrakion creeping a max speed Moltres. We live 2 Roserade Sludge Bomb after Stealth Rock and leftovers, provided the sand is not up. And then we have the rest of our EVs and special attack. Now, this Pokemon actually does very, very well, provided that John is creeping, my speed teach and stuff like that. We can get away with a pretty strong, modest, bulkier Latios, which is awesome. Calm Mind Stabs does really, really well outside of things like Klefki, but Klefki is pressure take hits from other things on my team, and Psyshock can honestly beat through that. And if it doesn't have Toxic or anything like that, we can kind of just Calm Mind up in its face and not care too much about it, which is obviously very, very cool. I figured that having the dual stabs was worth because we kind of need something to hit Hydreigon as well as having that Psyshock coverage, which is really, really nice. And yeah, that's basically going to be Latios. It's just a nice pivot. We can pivot into Terrakion. If we get a Calm Mind up, we can potentially, take on that Spectrier if it's a little bit weakened. If it's not a statusing Dino, we could take that thing on with Calm Minds. We do have Heal Bell support in the back. We could take on things like Talonflame pretty decently. And yeah, it's just a general overall nuisance to my opponent's squad. Next up, we have Excadrill. This is going to be the win con this game. We are rocking out with the Soft Sand Rush as our ability, Earthquake, Iron Head, Rock Slide, and Rapid Spin. I don't have the plus in front of attack. EVs wise, we got 212 attack, 76 speed def, and 220 speed with an adamant nature. Now, EVs wise, we have enough speed for Scarf, Spectrier, creeping a Scolipede. We 2-hit KO Hydreigon with our Iron Head, and then we have the rest in Spadef, so we could take those weird one-off special hits like things like Roserade. If it's not super offensive, we can potentially take 2 Giga Drains from it, so we could take them maybe one Spectre hit, maybe one Hydreigon hit, stuff like that. I figured it was pretty important to have, and if we can find a way to chip down things like the Starmie and the Sandaconda and things like that, Excadrill can honestly just win in the end game. We do have sand support, obviously, a little bit later on. I didn't think we really needed the Sword Stance option because, one, we don't really get an opportunity to set it off, really. against like anything on this team. And 2, I figured Rapid Spin would be nice. I don't want to be spike stacked. John loves his spikes, and spikes are very annoying for the team that I'm bringing. So I want to make sure that I have a way to remove those, and honestly even boost my speed outside of the sand if worse comes to worse. So that's obviously, very, very solid in its own right. Next up, we have Scrafty rocking out with the Assault. Dude, I forgot pluses on all of these. Goodness gracious, late night Owen just does not know how to do team builder slides. We are rocking out with the Assault Vest. Intimidate as our ability, knock off, Drain Punch, Fire Punch, and Brick Break. EVs wise, we got 244 HP, 36 attack, 4 defense, 116 special defense, and then 108 speed with a careful nature. This is going to be our main Spectre check. EVs wise, we have enough speed for no speed Sandaconda. We Oko offensive Starmie after rocks with a knockoff. And then we have the rest in HP plus special defense. We're able to check things like Hydreigon, like the Spectre. We're able to, at least intimidate, pivot on the, Terrakion. We can actually check a non-dazzling Gleam Roserade, which is awesome, as well as a non-dazzling Gleam Klefki, which is pretty cool. Knockoff is incredibly free this game, being that my opponent's switch in is going to be Terrakion, which we can Drain Punch and do a lot of damage to. We have Fire Punch to hit things like Roserade super effectively, as well as the Klefki, which is awesome. And then Brick Break is for screens, because John loves his screens as well, and I want a way to be able to break those. He's not going to switch his Ghost type on my Scrafty, that's for damn sure. And we do have Wish and Heal Bell support in the back. I almost went Shed Skin on this, but I figured Intimidate would be a little bit more nice, just to potentially be able to, pivot in, drop that Terrakion's attack, or a Dragon Dance Hydreigon, which again, like I said, very, very scary. But we'll kind of talk about that with our next member, because it's kind of tailored to beat that. And that is going to be our Sylveon. We are rocking out with the Babiri Berry Cute Charm as our ability. 244 HP, 172 defense, and 92 speed with a bold nature. And then moves-wise, we have Moonblast, Wish, Protect, and Heal Bell. Now, we are not running Pig Slate Sylveon, because part of me expects John, and this is a set I would probably run versus me, to run a Dragon Dance, Throat Chop, Hydreigon, in order to stop me from using my Hyper Voice and, being able to touch it, in all honesty. Either that, or running even like a Throat Chop Nasty Plot set or something like that. I do expect Throat Chop in some capacity. I don't really need the Hyper Voice damage for much, so I figured Moonblast would just be a little bit safer. Who knows, we can get cheeky and get lucky with some cute charm shenanigans. We have Wish and Protect to keep ourselves healthy, as well as the rest of our teammates, and then we have Heal Bell support for things like Will-O-Wisp, Spectre, and all the Thunder Wave he has with Klefki and Starmie, and Glare with the Sandaconda. So John has a lot of speed control in this team in the sense of Thunder Wave, and getting a lot of status off for the Spectre to win. So I wanted a way to potentially deal with that, if at all possible. But like I said, very scared of the Hydreigon. This is going to be our main check to Hydra. With the Babiri, we live like, +1 Iron Tail, as well as like +2 life or Flash Cannon. We chew those pretty easy, which is obviously very, very nice. Next up, we have Gigalith rocking out with the Smooth Rock Sandstream as its ability. Stone Edge, Toxic, Stealth Rock, and Body Press. EVs wise, we get 228 HP, 68 attack, 36 defense, 172 speed F, and then 4 speed with an Adamant nature. This Pokemon is here to get up rocks, toxic things like Sandaconda if at all humanly possible, and get up the sand for not only Excadrill, but our last member as well. Spoilers, we have the double sand offense this week, because I think it does really, really well versus John. EVs wise, we live a Terrakion CC before rocks. We Oko an offensive Roserade after rocks with our Stone Edge, and then we have the rest in Spadef just to be an overall Spadef pivot into things like Spectre if we really need to, as well as Hydreigon. We can check as well if it is, we can just check Hydreigon as well in general, which is awesome. The 4 speed is literally just 4 leftover EVs that I threw in speed because they didn't fit anywhere else because of how EVs at level 50 work. Like I said, this thing is here to get up rocks. It's here to toxic some things, be a general nuisance, and yeah, just be kind of annoying for our opponent to deal with in this particular matchup. And then lastly, like I said, our second Sand Abuser, which is going to be Stoutland, rocking out with the Life Orb. Sand Rush is its ability. Facade, Player of Crunch, and Fire Fang. EVs wise, we got 68 HP, 220 attack, 4 defense, 28 speed def, and 188 speed with a jolly nature. Now, EVs wise, we have the same number of amount of speed that we do in our Excadrill. We have enough speed for a Scarf Spectre, Creeping Scolipede. We have a Life Orb number in HP. We Oko offensive Roserade with our Fire Fang, which is awesome. And then we put the rest into Spadef just to take those one-off Dark Pulses or Mud Shots or whatever we need to take from that Spectre, if at all, if needed, because we are going to be the Ghost Immunity in this matchup. While my initial check is always going to be Scrafty, This is a good secondary backup tech to stop that thing from spamming Shadow Ball in the end game, which is awesome. And this is a phenomenal breaker in this game, like a really, really good breaker. If we can just Fire Fang through the normal resist and just kind of facade everything else, we obviously can play rough the Terrakion as well, and then Oko's the facade into play rough will kill Terrakion, as well as play rough just blows Hydreigon ass backwards. We have Crunch for things like a bulky Starmie. Facade, his main switch in my mind is probably going to be Sandaconda, but getting chip on that is really important for the Excadrill endgame, and vice versa. If we force it in with the Excadrill, we get a big EQ off, then we're forcing a bunch of damage on it for everything else, which is, again, obviously really, really nice. So, yeah, that is going to be the team. I will be right back with the match. All right, guys, here we are with the battle. As you can see, this is going to be a post-com. I originally did record this as live com. You can even see it. Watch, let me take away my face cam. Boom, there's me with the green screen, looking all handsome and shit. But this is going to be a post-com, and I'll jump in right off the bat to say this is only a post-com because I'm not too proud of how I reacted to the circumstances or, what happened in this battle. I wanted to, give a more sound analysis of things that happened without my emotions kind of clouding it, because I can get pretty hot-tempered when it comes to mods, unfortunately, even though I shouldn't, because it's fucking Pokemon, we shouldn't get that mad. It's a game at the end of the day, but I'm a very competitive person. I see John as a rival. I see him as someone who I'm on equal level playing with wise. We take games of one, he'll get one, I'll get one, he'll get one, I'll get one, all the time. So playing him is important to me, and I want to try and take as many games off him as I can, because I know they mean something. He's a great player. So I did sweat for this match, and unfortunately, there's some unfortunate circumstances in this game. So we'll go ahead and jump in. We're gonna have my big old face cam block in the way, though, just so you guys can obviously not see me in the face cam corner. I couldn't really use my green screen and like pop it over, so I guess you'll see behind my room my dirty dresser. The rest of my room is clean right now. I even made my bed and my hamper with all my clothes in it. Actually, you can't see this behind my chair. Sick. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in. We're gonna skip ahead to a team preview. So you're gonna see the team that John ended up bringing. He brought pretty much what we were expecting, except he did not bring the Terrakion. Now this is music to my ears. This is amazing to see for me, because I personally thought that he would either bring one of Roserade or Klefki for that spike support, and then bring Terrakion over the other. But the fact that he didn't is amazing, because we didn't really bring our Terrakion checks in things like a defensive Jellicent or anything like that. We just really didn't. So this is genuinely amazing for us. We're going to have a little bit easier of a time defensively this game. Our Latios looks absolutely phenomenal in this game. Once we chip down that Klefki, it honestly just goes in. Our Excadrill, we get chip on that Rotom and it wins, and you could even say the same thing about our Stoutland. If we position ourselves correctly, if we can, get rid of that damn Klefki, honestly, we're really just chilling with Stoutland plus Excadrill to really push and break through John's team. So what I'm going to do is, I believe I'm going to lead off with Big Excadrill. We're going to skip right forward, and I am going to just click Earthquake turn 1. I feel like this is very, very free on my end. We'll be able to see if he wants to pivot into the Rotom. I could have clicked Iron Head, but Earthquake actually had a chance to KO this thing if he was offensive and wanted to go for like a spike in my face or a Giga Drain to get off a lot of damage, because you realize we do a lot of damage. He is going to go hard into the Rotom, which is completely fine with me. Obviously, definitely a safe play on John's end. This makes me regret not going like the Mold Breaker Scarf route that we wanted to go, but I figured that Sand offense was a really good way of overwhelming his checks and putting me in a better position for an endgame with Excadrill, where I could switch up moves and I'm twice as fast as everything. I'm not scared out by a Scarf Hydreigon and beaten that way, and a bunch of things like that. So I figured that was potentially a good play nonetheless. So I am going to pivot on right here, going to my Scrafty. I'm not super worried about getting Will-O-Wisp because I know that I do have that Heal Bell support in the back, and I should be fine in that sense. And even if I'm burned, he can't really take advantage of me with Spectrier right off rip, so that's completely fine. But John is going to make a good play, go for a Volt Switch just to get on out of there. He knows we're not going to risk our Excadrill that early in the game, and it's so damn good versus him, there's genuinely no reason to. So he's going to get a little bit of offensive momentum here. And he's going to go out into his keys, which is a little bit annoying. I won't lie to you. I apologize as I get my thing to pop up. Which is a little bit annoying, I won't lie to you, because I don't have great pivots in this thing. I don't have a great way of breaking it. If it's foul play, it's genuinely annoying for me to deal with. If it is Magnet Rise, it's also genuinely annoying for me to deal with. So this is a little bit unfortunate, bad positioning for us, but I am going to choose to go into my extra drill. I know I don't believe I'm 2-hit KO by foul play, and especially because we're not SD. We might be 2-hit KO, but I know I'll at least take one and force him to either go for a Magnetize or just hard switch out. So I'm fine with that. I can honestly, you know, kind of use this to scout and pivot around, stuff like that. As Johnny is going to reveal the Toxic, we're going to see throughout this battle that he's like super hazard centric on this team. I mean, not hazard centric. Well, he does have a lot of hazards, but he's super status centric for that Spectre, which definitely makes sense. So John is going to reveal the Magnetize. I figured as much. I went for the Iron Head as the middle ground play. It also chipped down the what do you call it? The, why am I blanking on its name? Oh my goodness. I covered a Rotom play. We would chip it down at the very least on a pivot in, and we get a good 45-ish% off on this Klefki, which is genuinely amazing for us throughout this game, as we're going to see a Reflect pop. A little bit annoying, not the biggest deal in the world though, because we're still going to be able to do a chunk. I believe still potentially 2-hit KO the Klefki. It looks like it's not a 2-hit KO, but we're at least able to put it in range of pretty much everything on our team, especially without screens up. And again, that's absolutely amazing, because this thing was a pain for me to break. It was a pain for my Latios, because my Latios does very well in this matchup without this thing chilling right here. So I'm going to go for another Iron Head. Out comes the Navi, which is going to be big Rotom. We're going to be able to get off a ton of chip there, because we actually get a crit. Very beneficial for us. We're getting a lot more chip than we you know, originally would have gotten, so I'll definitely take it. And I believe right here, do I pivot out into Sylveon? I believe my play right here, no, I go right back out into Scrafty, which is completely fine. So John is going, we are going to pivot out into Scrafty as John thinks over his play. And it gives us pretty free leeway to go for a pretty free knockoff if he doesn't Volt. Even if he willows again, I'm not super worried about that. So we are going to intimidate said Rotom. I believe he willows this turn. Yeah, so he is going to Willow. We're going to see yet another status mod on John's team. His endgame is definitely with that Spectre in the back. He's trying to whittle down our Ghost Resist and Scrafty and get everything else status so where he can just click Hex late game, which definitely makes a lot of sense versus the bulkier team that we really do end up kind of having in this matchup, and we're kind of, you know, forced into bringing. So I am going to go for a Brick right here. A little bit of an aggressive play, but I figured that he would want to pivot out. I don't think he lets this thing get knocked. I don't think there's really a purpose for him to do so, especially when this is like his only Excadrill switch in or pivot. So I'll definitely take that, as John is going to switch out and go for the Volt Switch, which means we do have a pretty free Brick Break. Our Scrafty is getting a little bit chipped down, which again is unfortunate, but it's not something we can, you know, not play around or something like that. So I am going to go for a Brick Break. We break the Reflect, we get the Brick Break off, and that's honestly phenomenal for us. We're going to be, you know, obviously burned, so that's not going to do as much as we really wanted it to do, but regardless, it's all right. So we are going to take a little bit of that burn chip, as I am going to elect to pivot out, I believe, into my Sylveon this turn, because this is when I want to get off that Heal Bell. I think this is the best time for me to do so, so that's what we're going to go for. If John wants to Volt Switch, that's completely fine with me. I mean, if John wants to get from screen, that's completely fine with me. This thing isn't super threatening to me offensively. He can Toxic me if he wants. The main goal I want from this situation and this scenario is to get that burn off my Scrafty, so I can still pose it an offensive threat, because the stabs are really annoying for John to switch into on his team, in all honesty. So it's something I'll definitely take. I am going to wish this first turn though, as I do expect him to either get up into the screen or pivot out, as we are going to see the dead Roses come out. I could have sworn I went for a Heal Bell too. I just totally talked up going for a Heal Bell, and I did not go for it initially. I guess I wished in case his last move was like Flash Cannon or something like that. So we are going to get off a pretty big wish, which is definitely super nice. And looking at my team, I should have talked about this as a team builder. I don't have great pivots into Roserade, especially on this team, but I am wished up, so I will take this opportunity to get off that Heal Bell and put myself in a decent spot, as John is going to get up a layer of spikes. And this is obviously a great bring on John's part, and very annoying for me to personally deal with right here, because he does have a great spin blocker in that Rotom to my Excadrill. So it's going to be annoying for me to get these spikes away. It's really going to chip down my team and potentially put it in range of the rest of our mons. So we're going to see the Reflect is still up currently. There's only 2 more turns though, because John is not like Klefki. He is actually going to be a leftovers variant, as you guys saw. And I'm going to take this as an opportunity to pivot out into our pretty bulky Latios. Maybe start setting up some Calm Mind, put a little bit of hurt down, and kind of go from there. So we're going to see yet another layer. That's 2 layers for Mr. John Jr. going up right here, and I believe I am just going to throw off a Calm Mind here. It covers pretty much any pivot. It covers like a weird aggressive play into Hydra, and if he goes hard into Hydra, that makes me think that he's probably a Scarf set, but he is going to make the pivot out into Keys, which again is completely fine. With a Calm Mind up and this thing this low, I actually do take it on pretty well, so I'm not super worried about it at this point in time, being that it is this chip down. So I am going to get said Calm Mind off, raise my SPDEF and my special attack, as the Clef Key is going to get a tiny bit of leftovers recovery. I am gonna... Is there a point for me to speed up? Is this one take a little bit longer? I don't remember which turns are longer than others, but yeah, I am going to throw off a Side Shock as John does elect to go for a Toxic. Definitely a smart play, but we do have Heal Bell support in the back, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. We already knew that going in. The Clef Key did have Toxic, as I am going to be able to throw off a Side Shock, and this is a 2-hit KO on Clef Key, and there is not great pivots into this on John's team. That does an actual metric shit ton, in all honesty, despite being a resisted hit from a non-boosting item Latios, which is definitely very solid for us. And if he wants to go for attacking move, he will not be able to knock us out. I mean, not be able to outspeed us, so we'll be able to knock him out here unless he does go for a light screen, and I believe even then it may potentially be a roll just because we are boosted up and stuff like that. So I am going to take my KO here. He goes for a Reflect. I found out after the game that he actually didn't have a light screen, I believe, and unless I'm absolutely crazy, I don't think that Reflect actually affects Side Shock. Despite hitting on the defensive side, it is still a specially offensive. It still is a special attack, so I'm just gonna, you know, not really have to worry about that Reflect. And we're gonna be able to take down the Clef Key, which again was a very big nuisance to our team. Screens were annoying, and obviously this Prankster Toxic shenanigans was also not very fun at all. So we're going to be able to take out that thing, which is great for the rest of our team. It's phenomenal for our Stoutland as well. There's not a normal resist on John's team. He has a Spectre as an immunity, which he ends up going into right now. And in my head, I'm like, damn, I don't have a switch into this thing. I really don't have a great switch into this thing. With 2 spikes up, if he specs, he can potentially 2-hit KO my my Scrafty right here. I believe the range of health I'm at after that 2 spikes. So I am going to go for a Side Shock. I also don't want to let this thing get up a sub. It could definitely also be very annoying. And I know I live a hit from here. He is going to go for a substitute. Completely fine with me. I am going to be able to break said substitute with a nice and clean little Side Shock right here. This covered him also trying to go for a Calm Mind and boosting up on us. Side Shock will obviously hit it and not really care about those Calm Mind boosts because we're hitting from the physically defensive side. That's obviously, honestly, I believe pretty frail. I don't know if it's frailer on FizzDef or SPDEF. Like, it's either like equal on both or it's frailer on FizzDef. One of the two. But regardless, Side Shock was pretty no drawback in that sense. And we're going to see that he's actually a substitute set, which makes me think he's maybe sub Calm Mind, sub Nasty Plot with, like, you know, Willow Hex or something like that. I believe our only normal type is going to be Stoutland, so maybe he did not prep for the Stoutland at all. And you're going to see later on, I don't think he actually did. He's going to like to try and go for a sub here again, trying to catch me switching, burning up a little bit of the toxic turns, which is honestly smart too. Just because of the sense that he knows he doesn't knock me out from here when I am, you know, this high up, even with the Hex, just because we are pretty bulky and we are boosted up to a +1 with our Calm Mind. So John's honestly just either trying to catch us switching or wearing us down with our own Toxic, as, you know, it's kind of pushing past our lefties at this point, unfortunately. And I know this for a fact. In this game, I did make a little bit of a brain fart. I didn't even think of Hex, even though I was talking about Hex. I wasn't thinking about Hex when calcing, and in my head, I'm like, I still have a Shadow Ball. This is fine when I obviously die to a Hex from this range. 150% die to a Hex. I go for a Dragon Pulse here in case he wants to make a really aggressive pivot out into his Hydra, and he doesn't actually have a Dragon Resist on this team at this point. And I am going to go down to the Hex right here, as John does put me in range of that. Now, I won't lie to you, I don't think that that was my best bet. I don't think that letting Latios take all that damage was going to be my best bet. I was just scared of this thing snowballing if it was Specs, but once I saw that it wasn't Specs and it set the sub, it was pretty safe to go into my Scrafty and not super worried, because we're very SPDEF bulky on this thing, like incredibly bulky on this thing. So we're going to be able to go into it now. Again, the spikes damage is really going to prove to be a nuisance. It's really going to start to rack up. Obviously, we're at 79, so you're going to see Spec Shadow Ball obviously would have 2-hit KO'd, but once we saw that it wasn't, maybe it was okay to potentially risk that and go for knockoff, because even burned, we're going to be able to break this thing sub pretty darn easily, being that it's not the bulkiest thing in the world. But I'm going to go for a knock off, because it's no drawback at this point. Sorry, I'm talking a lot because I'm trying to like fill up the time in post-com. It's weird, I haven't post-commed in a while, especially for Wi-Fi games. But he is going to send out the dead roses. This is fine because again, I chunked the living hell out of this thing. We're going to be able to knock off, and I forgot Reflect was up. So Reflect is going to go away right here. We would have done so much more if that Reflect wasn't up, but it's all good. And I'm looking at my team, and I'm like, damn, I don't got to switch in. You know, like I really don't got to switch into this thing. So I am going to go for a Fire Punch as John ends up going for a Leech Seed. At this point, I think my best bet is to pressure that Spectrier offensively. Is to deal with it in some way to where it doesn't really have an opportunity to set up those subs that it wants to do. It doesn't have an opportunity to set up a nasty plot. It doesn't have an opportunity to hex through my team because I can overwhelm it with Sand Offense, which I think I'm honestly getting to the point where I can do so. I think that his team in general right now is very, very, very Stoutland weak. If you look at his team right now, he genuinely doesn't have any pivots into Facade plus Crunch. His Rotom or his Starmie might be able to live one hit, but if we can chip that Rotom, especially if he thinks that that's his check, then we're in a great spot to potentially win with our Extra Drill immediately after, especially with the Smooth Rock. We just need to chip down Hydra. We need to chip down the Starmie a little bit, which he's going to go into, and we're going to make a play, a nice middle ground play, and go for a knockoff, expecting him to pivot out. If he was like Synthesis or anything like that anyways, he would have lived the hit, but we're going to be able to knock off pretty darn freely and get off a fat chunk on this, what turns out to be this Boots Starmie. So that's amazing. This thing's in Extra Drill range now. It's also in Stoutland range, which is genuinely great. And now it's just getting that chip on Hydra for our Extra Drill and getting that chip on Rotom for our Extra Drill. If we can do that, then we're in a phenomenal position to potentially win this game here versus John. So we are going to knock off again. We're going to see it's actually not really a 2-hit KO. He's a very bulky Starmie from this range with knockoff when he does not have an item. That's fine though. At this point, my best play is to continuously attack this thing so that it doesn't get out of range of an Earthquake. This is because despite this thing being bulky, I am adamant Soft Sand Extra Drill. Earthquakes are going to hurt like a mother, dude. Like, they're going to really dent this thing no matter what it does. John's going to make the smart play and go for a Surf, though, knowing it knocks me out from this range and knowing that he can't get up the... If he recovers, he just goes right back up the full and goes right back to the range he's at before. Honestly, a little less because he's not getting as much Leech Seed recovery, so definitely a smart play. He also doesn't risk us getting crit and all that stuff. And I'm going to be able to go out into my Sylveon and put on a little bit of pressure on this Starmie, knowing that we beat it 1v1 pretty easily, being that it is not going to be, you know, a super offensive set, not a spec set. Psyshock should honestly bounce off us because we're pretty physically defensive if I'm remembering correctly. So I am going to throw off a Wish right here, see exactly what John wants to do. As we're going to have a bit of an exchange here, as John goes for a Toxic, really just trying to get spread status around so that things like his Spectrier can really go in, which again, completely understandable, definitely makes sense. But I am going to throw off a pretty big Wish here. And we're going to kind of get into a little bit of an exchange where I click Heal Bell and Moonblast and he clicks Recover, and we're going to slowly chip him down. But he is wasting our Heal Bells, which definitely makes a little bit of sense. I am speeding this up because honestly, in the context of what happens here soon, this really doesn't really matter all too much. So we're going to see a Toxic pop again. I believe I make a pivot out. So this is a turn where I'm like, damn, I can't waste all these Heal Bells. I need them for later in the game. I need my Sylveon for later in the game as well. Pretty healthy for that Hydra. Hydra is a fat issue if we let this thing get way too chipped. So I'm going to make a pivot into Gigalith because I know he's going to recover this turn. And I want to make the pivot on this turn, give my 8 turns of Sand Up, and position my Stoutland because I know he's not offensive and I know he's Surf at this point as well. So what I can do is pivot into my Stoutland this next turn. Yes, I'm going to take a lot of chip, but that's completely fine. I don't need the health on my Stoutland. I need it to come in one time, and I need it to break through John's team. That's it. That's genuinely all I need Stoutland to do. If it can get chip on that Rotom, my Extra Drill can win. That's all I need. That's genuinely all I need. So we are going to pivot out into the Stoutland this turn. From this range, I believe a Crunch will do an absolute metric shit ton to this thing. Generally doing, you know, obviously a lot of damage to it. A lot of damage. So we are going to pivot out on the Starmie. Go right out into Argos, the Stoutland, making his debut, taking a couple spikes, and we're going to take a Surf here and honestly chew it pretty decently, showing me that he's most likely Natural Cure and not Analytic, which is nice. I figured as much though, looking at this team. He's going to take a little bit of Sand Chip, and being that he's not what do you call it, leftovers, that is, you know, really, really nice chip to hopefully put him in range of this crunch or just chip him down pretty exponentially up to this point. So I am going to go for a crunch. Be able to put myself in a really, really good position because there isn't any pivots into this. John realizes he needs to start me somewhat healthy so he can somewhat check the extra drill, which is definitely completely fair. But we are going to throw off a crunch, get off a tiny bit of damage, and obviously this thing is in range of play rough. And I wanna premise this because I think you guys context clues can kind of tell what's gonna happen right here. I'm gonna click play rough, obviously. I knock this thing out. That's a roadblock out of extra drill's way. Obviously, then John is forced into a scenario where he can't go Star Me because I knock it out with crunch. He can't go Spectre because I knock it out with crunch. He can't go Rosary because I knock it out with Facade / Fire Fang because it's pretty chipped. And that leaves one Pokemon in his Rotom. He goes Rotom. I crunch it. Even if he does not die, I chip him down to a range where Excadrill wins the game. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I genuinely think that Excadrill just wins the game if we can obviously position ourselves well enough and, you know, knock things out, give ourselves enough sand turns and things like that. So in my mind, I'm watching this game. I'm thinking, yeah, I've put myself in a great position. I think I'm genuinely okay right here. So I am gonna go for the play rough, and we're gonna miss. This is the point where I obviously kind of got a little bit upset. This genuinely really, really annoyed me, and I'm gonna let you know from this point in the game, it's very, 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 very downhill. Incredibly downhill from here. I am gonna go into my Sylveon. I'm gonna kind of zoom through the game. This game becomes unwinnable for us though. This game becomes unwinnable for us because we don't have anything to force in that Rotom and force it to take that chip to where our Excadrill can really win the game. I am gonna go for a Heal Bell on this turn, trying to keep our Sylveon healthy because it's one of our you know, only real defensive measures and counterplays to the rest of this team right here. And you're gonna see, I believe John goes for a nasty plot this turn. The turn prior, he went for a nasty plot. Here, I zoomed it back a tiny bit. Yeah. So John is gonna go for a nasty plot. I am gonna go for a Heal Bell. We are Babiri Berry, so it's not that big of a deal. We're honestly gonna kind of chew this up, and we're gonna be able to go for our Moonblast, knock out the Hydra, save ourselves a little bit of differential, which is nice, but still not the best spot right here. As Johnny's going to go into the Roserade, go for a Leech Seed. I kind of have to position this to where I can get the most amount of sand turns possible, which isn't great. We're gonna be able to pass a Wish out into our drill right here, which is nice. I believe I do go for an Iron Head just to try and catch that, what do you call it? That Rotom, as John is gonna elect to actually go right out and do a Starmie, and this is good in a sense because it actually puts him in range of an Earthquake from our Excadrill, despite him being pretty bulky. Like I said, we're Adamant Soft Sand, we'll do a lot of damage, and then right here, we're gonna force him into a position where I want him to knock me out, you know? I think him knocking me out is best case scenario, as I am going to go for Stone Edge. I'm going to miss. That's even more tilting, as I'm assuming, as you can guess, incredibly tilting. As John right here is going to try and, you know, stall out my sand turns and things like that. I have to pivot out right here to catch him on a recover turn because he was potentially in range. And now this right here is where I got super tilted. I don't know if you can see me. Look at me. I was very upset because at this point in the game, I was thinking about my end game, and I was like, is there any way we can win? My only way of winning is to obviously Earthquake, knock this Starmie out. He goes into Rotom. I have to Rock Slide flinch him, and I can potentially pivot out and you know, get enough sand turns as we go. But I'm thinking about Rock Slide. I say I need Earthquake the Starmie. I'm thinking about Rock Slide for the Rotom. I don't even think he's gonna switch into it. I'm thinking about it for the Rotom, and John is going to and I'm going to click Rock Slide on the Starmie. Not gonna get the flinch. I definitely would have knocked him out with Earthquake right there. He's gonna go for Surf and knock me out. And I'm gonna get pretty upset, and I believe I just forfeit right here, or I just end the recording right there. So
not the best showing of tilt from me. There was potentially an out in that end game, obviously, if I wasn't a complete dumbass and misclicked just in my sheer rage at, you know, getting hacked in a Pokemon game. But it was very unfortunate how we got, because I think I did put myself in a position to win. I love John. I think he's a phenomenal player. I have the utmost respect for him. But again, that's why this is all the more frustrating, because after losing really bad the week prior, after starting 2-0, feeling good, I lose pretty bad to Shuckle King just on him outplaying us. Really just not my best game. And then I come out, I sweat super hard, I go up against another phenomenal player in John, and I lose a game that I think I positioned myself to win in. And I think John even said, like, himself, like, yeah, the miss was huge. Like, you potentially could have just won the game with extra drill if that ended up happening. And it was very frustrating. It was very frustrating for me, and I felt like it just wasn't good for me to post how frustrated I was in that live comm, and also wasn't, you know, fair to you guys watching it. It definitely wasn't good content. So I figured, while this isn't ideal, it's better than nothing, if anything. So yeah, that's gonna be our week 4 of NCP. Unfortunately, we go up in flames this week again too. It's really unfortunate because, like I said, I think we played well up to the miss, and I think we you know, had a great game plan going in, and I was really proud of the team. Just Pokemon, she's a cruel mistress, man. She's I don't know why we love playing Pokemon so much, but we do. Next week we have an even tougher opponent, arguably, at least matchup wise. I think John is as good as anybody in this league, just as I think we're as good as anybody in this league. But we're playing Vepsis, who has been on an absolute kill streak these last few weeks. So we're gonna have to, you know, jump in front of that freight train. I have a really cool team. I've run a lot of mocks for it. I'm definitely as prepared as I think I ever will be, and I'm hoping that we can jump back on the right track, go from 2-2 back up to 3-2, get that winning record going again, and then just steamroll through the rest of the season. Because I really do want to perform well here in NCP this season, and we started off so well. We have such a phenomenal team. I don't want to squander that. So again, I apologize for this week, guys. I'll try and do better, and I hope you'll stick along with me for the ride. But thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely go check out John in the description below. Check out all the other coaches. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Sub if you're new. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.